Victoria Sterling stood at the head of the marble conference table, watching her expensive translator stumble through another sentence. Thomas Webb had cost her company $50,000 for this crucial presentation, yet something felt wrong. The Japanese investors across from her exchanged uncomfortable glances, their expressions growing darker with each passing moment. She had spent months preparing for this meeting. Her technology company needed this partnership to expand into Asian markets. Everything depended on making the right impression today. The morning sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows seemed to mock her growing anxiety. Thomas continued speaking in Japanese, his confidence apparent in every gesture. But the lead investor, Mr. Tanaka, shifted in his seat and whispered to his colleague. Victoria noticed the subtle signs of displeasure. Years of business had taught her to read body language, and right now, every signal screamed danger. An unexpected interruption. The conference room door opened quietly. Raymond Costa entered, pushing his cleaning cart. He was the evening janitor, a quiet man in his early 40s who usually worked after everyone left. His presence during daytime hours was unusual. He wore his standard gray uniform, his dark hair streaked with premature gray at the temples. Raymond began emptying the trash bins near the wall, moving with practiced efficiency. He kept his head down, seemingly focused on his work. But then Thomas spoke another sentence in Japanese, and Raymond froze. His hands tightened on the trash bag he was holding. The words escaped before Raymond could stop them. His voice was soft, but clear. "That is not what you mean to say." Every head in the room turned toward him. Victoria felt her stomach drop. The janitor had just interrupted her $50,000 translator during the most important presentation of the year. Thomas Webb turned red. "Excuse me?" Raymond set down the trash bag slowly. "You just told them their mothers work in dishonest professions. That phrase you used is a serious insult in their regional dialect." The linguistic revelation. Victoria found her voice. "What are you talking about?" Raymond looked directly at the Japanese investors and spoke in flawless Japanese. The sounds flowed from his mouth with natural precision, each tone perfect. Mr. Tanaka sat up straighter, surprise evident on his face. Thomas sputtered. "This is insane. I will not be corrected by someone who cleans floors." "Then perhaps you should learn the difference between textbook Japanese and what people actually speak." Raymond switched to Mandarin, then German, then French. Each language emerged perfectly formed, each accent authentic. Victoria counted silently. Japanese. Mandarin, German, French, Russian, Italian, Portuguese. 7 languages, spoken by a man she had barely noticed in 2 years of him working in her building. Gregory Stone, her vice president, laughed from his seat. "Victoria, you cannot seriously be listening to the cleaning staff." But Victoria was watching the Japanese investors. Their entire demeanor had changed. Mr. Tanaka was nodding slowly, a small smile on his face. He spoke in Japanese, addressing Raymond directly. Raymond responded, his posture shifting subtly. Victoria recognized the formal bow, the respectful distance, the careful choice of honorifics. This was not someone who had learned languages from apps or textbooks. This was someone who understood culture at its deepest level. The truth begins to surface. "Everyone out." Victoria's voice cut through the murmuring. "Now." The executives filed out, Thomas Webb gathering his papers with shaking hands. Gregory lingered at the door. "You are making a mistake." Out. When the door closed, leaving only Victoria, Raymond, and the Japanese investors, Mr. Tanaka spoke in English. "Mrs. Sterling, this man has just saved your presentation. Your translator was about to destroy any chance of our partnership." Victoria turned to Raymond. "Who are you?" "Nobody important, ma'am. Nobody important does not speak 7 languages." With diplomatic precision. She moved closer to him. Nobody important does not recognize regional Japanese dialects, so I will ask again. Who are you really? Raymond's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and Victoria saw his face go pale. I need to leave. My daughter is sick. The school nurse called. Not until you explain yourself. My daughter Natalie has a genetic condition. His voice cracked. She needs me. Please. Victoria saw the fear in his eyes, real fear, the kind that came from loving something more than your own life. She stepped back. Tomorrow, 8 in the evening, my office. I work until 10. Tomorrow you come at 8. Victoria's business instinct was screaming at her. Because I need to understand why a man who speaks 7 languages is cleaning my floors instead of sitting in that translator's chair. The weight of secrets. Raymond picked up his cleaning cart. And if I refuse, then I will have human resources investigate your background thoroughly. Victoria kept her voice level. Something tells me there is a story there you would prefer stayed buried. You know nothing about me. I know you love your daughter more than your pride. That is why you are still here, working a job far beneath your abilities. She turned to face the windows overlooking the city. 8 o'clock, Raymond. Do not make me come looking for you. After he left, Victoria sat down heavily. The Japanese investors had departed with promises to return the next day for a proper presentation. They had been impressed by Raymond's intervention, intrigued by the mystery of who he really was. Thomas Webb's contract sat on her desk. $50,000 for incompetence. Meanwhile, a janitor had done in 3 minutes what her expensive expert could not do in 3 months of preparation. Victoria pulled up Raymond's employment file on her computer. Raymond Costa, age 42, hired 2 years ago. Previous employment listed as various cleaning services. No college degree mentioned. No special skills listed, but someone who spoke 7 languages did not appear from nowhere. Someone with that level of expertise had a history, a past, a story worth hiding. Her phone rang. Gregory Stone's name appeared on the screen. She let it go to voicemail. Right now, she had more important things to consider. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, she would learn the truth about her mysterious janitor, and something told her that truth would change everything. Raymond arrived at Victoria's office at exactly 8 o'clock. He had changed from his janitor uniform into simple khaki pants and a button-down shirt. His hands were scrubbed clean, but Victoria could still see the calluses from years of manual labor. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. Between them sat a thin folder with his name on it. Raymond eyed it warily as he sat down. I tried to find information about you. Victoria opened the folder, revealing mostly blank pages. Raymond Costa appears in employment records 2 years ago. Before that, nothing. No tax records, no previous addresses, no educational history. You are a ghost. Raymond said nothing, his face carefully neutral. But then I searched for Raymond Costa with a different last name. Victoria pulled out a photograph printed from an old news article. Raymond Costa Mendez, United Nations interpreter. Specialist in Asian trade negotiations. Fluent in 8 languages. The color drained from Raymond's face. Where did you find that? Old conference archives. You were quite respected. Victoria studied the photo. It showed a younger Raymond in an expensive suit, standing between Chinese and Japanese delegates. What happened? Raymond closed his eyes. My wife, Natalie Sr., got sick 4 years ago. Acute myeloid leukemia. Very aggressive. Natalie. Your daughter is named after her. She was 6 when her mother got diagnosed. His voice was barely above a whisper. The doctors said there was an experimental treatment, not covered by insurance. Very expensive. Victoria poured 2 glasses of water from the pitcher on her desk. She handed one to Raymond. Keep going. The sacrifice. I was the lead interpreter for the Shanghai Trade Summit. 4 years of preparation, delegates from 12 countries, contracts, worth billions. Raymond took a drink, his hand shaking slightly. But Natalie got worse. The treatment had to start immediately. I had to choose. You left the summit 3 days before it started. Raymond's laugh was bitter. Without me, the negotiations collapsed. Too many languages, too many cultural misunderstandings. My country lost contracts worth millions. My career ended in 24 hours. Victoria leaned forward. No one understood. Understanding does not matter when you cost your government that much money. He met her eyes. I violated contracts, destroyed my reputation. No embassy would hire me. No agency would touch me. I tried freelance work, but medical bills do not wait for clients. The room fell silent, except for the hum of the air conditioning. Victoria thought about her own choices, the sacrifices she had made to build her company. She had given up relationships, friendships, family time, but she had never faced the choice between her career and someone's life. Your wife passed away 2 years ago. It was not a question. 6 months after I spent everything we had, Raymond's voice broke. The treatment bought her time, good time. She got to see Natalie turn 8. We celebrated her birthday together. Then the cancer came back stronger. And Natalie has the same genetic condition. Lynch syndrome. It increases cancer risk dramatically. He pulled out his phone, showing Victoria a photo of a young girl with dark curly hair and bright eyes. She needs monitoring every 3 months. Special scans. They cost 20,000 pesos each time. Victoria understood now. Your health insurance through this company. Your corporate plan is the only one in the country that covers genetic monitoring at this level. Raymond put his phone away. After Natalie Sr. died, we lived in a boarding house, 1 room. I took any work I could find. Then I saw your company was hiring custodial staff with full benefits. I shortened my last name on the application. Became someone with no history. An unexpected proposal. Victoria stood and walked to the window. The city lights sparkled below, thousands of lives playing out their own dramas. She thought about Thomas Webb's incompetence, about the Japanese investors who had almost walked away, about the janitor who had saved her company's future. The Translator contract is for 1 month, $50,000 for the entire merger process. She turned to face Raymond. He cannot even handle basic honorifics because he learned from books, not from people. Language is not just words. Raymond's voice took on a different quality, the tone of someone who had spent years teaching others. It is culture, context, intention. Every phrase carries weight. Show me. Victoria opened her laptop, pulling up the presentation documents. This is tomorrow's proposal. Raymond read through it quickly, his expression growing more troubled with each paragraph. This is worse than I thought. How bad? They will think you are either stupid or deliberately insulting them. He pointed to a section. This uses casual form with their CEO, like calling your grandmother by her first name at a formal dinner. Victoria felt her stomach sink. Fix it. I cannot. Why not? Because I am a janitor. Raymond stood up. If I appear tomorrow speaking perfect Japanese, there will be questions, investigations. I cannot risk this job. Natalie needs the insurance. The secret arrangement Victoria had built her company by recognizing opportunities others missed. She saw one now, sitting right in front of her. What if you did not appear tomorrow? What if I simply had the correct translations? Raymond studied her face. You want me to work after hours, reviewing everything in secret. You keep your janitor job, your insurance, your anonymity. Victoria pulled out a checkbook. But you help me not lose this merger. 10,000 pesos extra per week, cash, no records. That is less than my expertise is worth. It is what I can pay without accounting asking questions. She wrote the first check, sliding it across the desk. and access to the Executive Childcare Center for Natalie. They have specialized nurses, former pediatric staff. Raymond stared at the check. 10,000 pesos would mean proper food, new medicine if needed, maybe even some of the educational materials Natalie loved. She cannot know about my past. We tell her it is a new benefit for employees with seniority. Victoria was already typing on her computer. You start tomorrow, midnight, after your regular shift ends. If someone sees us, this building has 200 security cameras. A dangerous smile crossed Victoria's face. I am the CEO. I decide which ones work and when. Raymond picked up the check, folding it carefully. Why are you trusting me? I do not trust you. Victoria's voice was honest. But I recognize desperation, and desperation, Raymond, is the only motivation that never lies. New beginnings and hidden dangers. As Raymond left the office, his mind raced with possibilities. 10,000 pesos extra meant stability. The executive childcare meant Natalie would be safe, monitored by professionals who understood her condition. Maybe she could even make friends with other children, something the boarding house had never allowed. He pulled out his phone, texting Natalie. Good news, princess. You are starting at a new daycare on Monday. They have art classes and a real library. Her response came immediately. Will there be other kids who like languages like me? Raymond smiled. I hope so, baby. I really hope so. But as he walked through the lobby, he noticed Gregory Stone standing by the elevators. The vice president was watching him with cold, calculating eyes. Raymond kept his head down, pushing his cleaning cart toward the service elevator. In her office, Victoria reviewed the security footage from the conference room. She watched Raymond's intervention again, noting the precise moment when everything changed, the way he carried himself when speaking different languages. The unconscious shift in posture, the cultural gestures, the diplomatic grace. This was not just a man who spoke languages. This was someone who had lived them, breathed them, made them part of his identity. Her phone buzzed, a message from her head of security. Camera system on executive floor will experience maintenance issues from midnight to 3 in the morning. Starting tomorrow, as requested, Victoria typed back. Perfect, thank you. She looked at the photo Raymond had forgotten on her desk, the man in the expensive suit, respected and successful. Then she thought about the man in the janitor uniform, scrubbing floors to keep his daughter alive. Sometimes she realized the most valuable people were the ones everyone else overlooked. And sometimes, saving someone else meant saving yourself. Tomorrow, at midnight, their secret partnership would begin. She had no idea it would change both their lives forever. 3 weeks passed in a rhythm of secrecy and growing connection. Every night at midnight, after Raymond finished his janitorial duties, he would climb the stairs to Victoria's office. The elevator cameras still functioned, but the stairwell provided safer passage for their hidden arrangement. Victoria found herself watching the clock as midnight approached each evening. She told herself it was about the work, about saving the Japanese merger, about protecting her company. But the truth was more complicated. Raymond brought something into her sterile corporate world that she had forgotten existed. Warmth, honesty, a perspective shaped by loss and love rather than profit margins and power plays. Tonight, they sat across from each other reviewing the final presentation documents. Raymond had transformed every section, replacing textbook formality with cultural authenticity. His fingers moved across the keyboard with practiced ease, inserting phrases that carried layers of meaning invisible to untrained eyes. This section about partnership duration. Raymond highlighted a paragraph. In Japanese business culture, you never discuss end dates in initial meetings. It suggests you expect failure. Victoria leaned closer to read his changes. She caught the scent of his soap, something simple and clean. How do you phrase it then? You talk about growing together, building foundations. The timeline emerges naturally from mutual trust. He rewrote the section in Japanese, then translated it back for her. See the difference? It sounds more like a relationship than a contract. Because in their culture, business is a relationship. Raymond sat back. Every deal is a marriage of sorts. You do not propose marriage by discussing divorce terms. Victoria laughed, a genuine sound that surprised them both. When did you become so wise about relationships? When I married Natalie Sr. His expression softened with memory. She taught me that love is not about perfect words. It is about understanding what someone means beneath what they say. Dangerous observations. The moment broke when Victoria's phone buzzed. A text from her head of security. Mr. Stone has been asking questions about executive floor camera maintenance. Thought you should know. Victoria's jaw tightened. Gregory Stone had been her vice president for 5 years, ambitious, calculating, always positioning himself for her job. She had kept him close because he was useful, but she had never trusted him. Problem? Raymond noticed her expression change. Gregory is suspicious. She set down her phone. He knows something is happening after hours. Maybe we should stop. No. Victoria's response was immediate and fierce. It surprised her with its intensity. We are too close. The presentation is in 4 days. After that, the merger will be secured. Raymond studied her face. This is about more than the merger now. She wanted to deny it, but the words stuck in her throat. Over 3 weeks of midnight sessions, something had shifted between them. Conversations had moved from purely professional to personal. She had learned about his wife's favorite songs, about Natalie's dreams of becoming a teacher, about the small apartment they now rented in a safer neighborhood thanks to his extra income. He had learned about her loneliness, about the grandmother, who raised her while her mother built the company, about the pressure of living up to expectations that felt impossible to meet. Raymond. She reached across the desk, her hand covering his. I need you to know something. The office door opened without warning. Gregory Stone stood in the doorway, his phone held up, camera pointed directly at them. The flash went off before either could react. How touching. Gregory's smile was venomous. The CEO and the janitor, late-night business meetings. I wonder what the board will think. The threat. Revealed Victoria stood slowly, her business mask sliding into place. You are trespassing in my private office after hours. I am investigating suspicious activity. Gregory stepped inside, closing the door behind him. Disabled security, cameras, secret meetings, unauthorized access to confidential documents. He looked at Raymond with disgust. Did you really think nobody would notice? Raymond remained seated, his face calm. Years of diplomatic training had taught him how to handle confrontation. Mr. Stone, I suggest you leave before this becomes more complicated. You suggest? Gregory laughed. A janitor suggests nothing. You exist to clean up messes, not create them. Gregory, enough. Victoria's voice cracked like a whip. What do you want? What I have always wanted. Your position. He held up his phone. This photo goes to the board tomorrow unless you resign. Quietly. Cite personal reasons. I take over as CEO. And if I refuse? Then everyone learns about your inappropriate relationship with staff. The scandal alone will destroy company credibility right before the merger. Gregory moved to the door. You have until morning to decide. Oh, and Raymond? Your daughter Natalie. Such a sweet child. I saw her at the executive daycare today. It would be terrible if she lost her spot there. If her father lost his insurance coverage. The threat hung in the air like poison. Raymond's hands clenched into fists, but Victoria caught his eye and shook her head slightly. Get out. Her voice was ice. After Gregory left, silence filled the office. Raymond stood, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. I am sorry, this is my fault. No. Victoria walked to the window, her reflection sharp against the night. This is mine. I brought you into this situation. What will you do? I do not know yet. She turned to face him. But I will not let him hurt Natalie. Whatever happens to me, your daughter keeps her insurance, her daycare, everything. Raymond crossed the distance between them in 3 strides. You cannot sacrifice your company for us. Watch me. The fierceness in her voice matched the fire in her eyes. I have spent 15 years building this business, but I have also spent 15 years alone, afraid to care about anything except profits and growth. These past 3 weeks with you have reminded me what actually matters. The truth comes out, Victoria. Her name on his lips sounded like a prayer. I cannot let you do this. You do not have a choice. She reached up, her hand touching his face. Because I am not doing this just for Natalie. I am doing it for me, for us. The admission hung between them, changing everything. Raymond's hand covered hers, his thumb brushing across her knuckles. There is no us. I am a janitor with a sick daughter and a destroyed past. You are a CEO with everything to lose. I am a woman who has been alone for too long. Victoria's voice dropped to a whisper. I am someone who has finally found a person who sees me, not just my company or my last name, and I am absolutely terrified because I have no idea what to do about it. Raymond pulled her closer, his forehead resting against hers. We cannot do this. The risk is too great. The risk is already here. She closed her eyes. Gregory has his weapon. The only question is whether we face it together or separately. A knock interrupted them. They sprang apart as the door opened. But instead of Gregory, the building's head of security, Miguel Santos, stood there. He was an older man, someone Raymond had befriended during late-night shifts. Sorry to interrupt. Miguel held a tablet. But I thought you should see this before morning. He played a video. It showed Gregory in the parking garage 2 hours earlier meeting with Thomas Webb, the disgraced translator. Money changed hands. Then Webb handed Gregory a folder. What is this? Victoria took the tablet. Mr. Stone paid Webb to sabotage the original translation. Miguel's voice was grim. Webb was supposed to make you look incompetent, force you to rely on outside help, create a scandal. When Raymond fixed everything, it ruined their plan. Raymond stared at the screen. Gregory orchestrated the entire situation. He has been planning this for months. Miguel pulled up more files. I started investigating when the camera requests seemed suspicious. Found emails, payment records, everything. He wanted you gone, Mrs. Sterling. The janitor relationship was just his backup plan, the board meeting. The next morning, Victoria called an emergency board meeting. Gregory arrived with his photo and his smug confidence. The board members filled the conference room, their expressions ranging from curious to concerned. Thank you all for coming. Victoria stood at the head of the table. We have some important matters to discuss regarding company security and the upcoming merger. Gregory smirked. Indeed we do. Mr. Stone, you are fired. Victoria's voice was clear and strong. Security, please escort him from the building. You cannot fire me. Gregory jumped to his feet. I have evidence of your inappropriate behavior. And I have evidence of corporate sabotage, fraud, and attempted blackmail. Victoria nodded to Miguel, who distributed folders to each board member. Everything is documented. Your payments to Thomas Webb, your plan to destroy the Japanese merger, your attempts to create scandal through manufactured evidence. The board members flipped through the documents, their expressions darkening. Gregory's face went from smug to pale in seconds. You will find, Victoria continued, that my relationship with Raymond Costa Mendez has been entirely professional. Mr. Mendez is a former United Nations interpreter who I hired as a consultant for our Asian expansion. His custodial position was maintained for personal reasons related to his daughter's medical needs and our insurance coverage. She looked directly at Raymond, who stood near the back of the room in his janitor uniform. Effective immediately, Mr. Mendez is promoted to Director of International Relations. His expertise has already saved our Japanese merger and will be invaluable for future expansion. The board members nodded their approval. Gregory was led away by security, his protests fading down the hallway. New beginnings. That evening, Raymond stood in Victoria's office wearing a new suit. Natalie sat in the corner, drawing pictures of her father in his fancy clothes. She hummed while she worked, happy and healthy. "How does it feel?" Victoria asked, straightening his tie. "Strange." Raymond smiled. "Like coming home after being lost for years. The Japanese delegation arrives tomorrow. Are you ready?" "I have been ready for 4 years." He caught her hand. "But I need to know something. Was what you said last night true? About us?" Victoria glanced at Natalie, then back to Raymond. "Every word." "I come with complications. A daughter who needs constant medical care. A past that will always follow me. No money, no status. I come with a company that consumes my life, trust issues, a family history of choosing business over everything else." She smiled. "We are quite a pair." "Daddy?" Natalie looked up from her drawing. "Is Miss Victoria your girlfriend?" Raymond and Victoria both froze. Then Raymond knelt beside his daughter. "Would that be okay with you?" Natalie considered this seriously. "Will she teach me more languages? Because I really want to learn Mandarin." Victoria laughed, tears in her eyes. "I would be honored to teach you Mandarin." "Then yes." Natalie returned to her drawing. "She can be your girlfriend." Raymond stood, pulling Victoria close. "You heard the boss. Apparently, you are my girlfriend now." "Apparently so." She kissed him softly, finally allowing herself to feel the hope she had been holding back. "How did a $50,000 mistake turn into the best decision I ever made?" "Because the best things in life," Raymond whispered against her hair, "are the ones we never plan for." Outside the office windows, Buenos Aires glowed in the twilight. 2 broken people had found each other in the most unlikely way. A CEO and a janitor. A woman who had everything and a man who had lost it all. Together, they had built something neither expected: love, trust, a future that finally felt possible. And in the morning, when Raymond stood before the Japanese delegation, in his new role, speaking their language with perfect cultural precision, Victoria watched from the back of the room. Her company was saved. Her heart was full. Her life, finally, was complete. The merger succeeded beyond all projections. Raymond's expertise opened doors across Asia. Natalie thrived in the executive daycare, learning languages from the other children. And every night, Victoria no longer went home to silence. She went home to family, to love, to the man who had been invisible until she finally learned to see what truly mattered. Sometimes the most valuable treasures are hidden in plain sight. Sometimes a janitor is really a prince, and sometimes spending $50,000 on the wrong person leads you to the right one for free. The end.